I don't want to talk about this series anymore because I just didn't like it. And like, I don't regret doing it because I really liked that video and I had a really good time making it. It's very smutty, just so you know. Here we are. Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I thought I would do a February reading wrap up. So I did not read a lot of books in February, but I really want to do these like every month so I can just kind of like vent on main, like rant about all the books that I read. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do a wrap up and a TBR video every month, unless I don't make a TBR, because honestly, I don't know. In February, I read 8 books. It was a very slow month for me. This last 2 weeks of February, I think I read 1 or 2 books. And I usually read about 3 or 4 books a week. So we're definitely very behind. I'm very behind on my reading goal. My reading goal is 150 books. So buckle up, get a snack. I don't know. I don't know how long this is gonna take, but I've got my Coke. And we're gonna talk about all the books that I read in February. First book that I read was an audiobook that I was like already in the middle of from January. I read Painted Devils by Margaret Owen. This is a sequel to Little Thieves, which I read, I think it was the first book I read this year, and I liked it. It was very like an even 3.5 stars for me because I really liked it, but like there was nothing really like making me want more, and I thought it was a good book, and that was like it. I thought that Painted Devils might end up being better. Not that Little Thieves was bad, it was just it didn't really like, I wasn't like super invested and super attached, so I just thought like, yeah, that was a good book, I enjoyed my time, and then that was it, and I didn't think about it again. But I still wanted to read Painted Devils because I hate not finishing series, and I needed an audiobook, so I was like, I'm gonna listen to this. And it was really weird. It was a really weird book. The Little Thieves like series, I guess, is just a series of standalones. Like there's only 2 out right now. I think there's gonna be more. So this is the second one, but it's a standalone. All the same characters, but it's a completely like individual adventure, I guess. Like the story wraps up in one book. I don't really remember much about this book because again, these books for me are just kind of like, oh, that was good, and then I don't think about it again. So I don't really remember. Like it was very like the romance was a lot more of a thing, and that would have been nice if I like liked the romance more, because I just didn't really care about it. It was a nice part of the story and I liked both of the characters involved, but like it just wasn't like, it didn't hit, you know. So the actual story I liked more than the first book, like the adventure and the mystery that they were trying to solve. I thought it was more fun. It was definitely a lot less serious, and like it was just very silly. Like it was kind of fantastical in that way, but I think that's why I liked it. This book just didn't take itself as seriously as Little Thieves, but like in a good way. So yeah, I liked it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Next, oh boy. So the next book that I read was Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. Later on in the month, I tried to read Kingdom of the Feared. I read it in my 24-hour readathon if you want to see my live reactions to that book. I DNF'd that book. So they're both part of the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I finished book 2 and I remember being halfway through it and being like, when is it gonna get good? I only continued the series because I read the first book and I had faith that the series, once it fleshed out, would be a lot more engaging and interesting, and just like it would be a series that gets better and better. But then I was halfway through the second book and I was like, is this worth it? Like, is this gonna get good? I think I made a TikTok about it and I was like, guys, does this book get good? And everybody's like, keep reading, oh my god. Like, and I was like, I don't want to keep reading, this book sucks. Like, but then I did keep reading and I finished it, and again, the same thing that happened with the first book happened again, and the ending was good. So I was like, I should keep reading, even though I hated 75% of the book. I should keep reading because the ending left on a cliffhanger and I want to know what's gonna happen. So then I read the third book for my 24-hour readathon. I got halfway through it and I could not stand it and I DNF'd it. And that is really annoying because I got Kingdom of the Feared from Libby, and then there was a glitch where it wouldn't add itself to my Kobo. So I got so frustrated after hours of trying to get it onto my Kobo that I literally bought the book. I didn't finish it and I never will. But anyway, these books, I understand why people like them, but I feel like overall this series, to sum it up, it wasn't enough for me. Like it wasn't like, I didn't identify with the characters enough. The story wasn't interesting enough. The romance wasn't exciting enough. Like nothing was, it felt so flat and lifeless, especially the main character. She just felt like a piece of like she was a piece of cardboard. That is how interesting she was. That was a weird analogy. I don't know why I used that. Anyway, she was so unlikable. None of her decisions made sense for the narrative. She was, oh my god, I hated her. I hated her so much. Anyway, I don't want to talk about this series anymore because I just didn't like it, but yeah, we're done with it now, so that's good. Next up, we have King of Battle and Blood. This is an adult fantasy that's on Kindle Unlimited, and it's by the author that writes the Hades and Persephone series, which I hear a lot about. I tried to read the first book in that series actually like months ago, and I hated it and I put it away. So I tried to read this one because I was like, you know what, let's give it a try. I wanted a bingeable, low energy, low effort Kindle book, so I picked this one up and I kind of ate it up. Like it went pretty hard. Like I really liked it. It's very smutty, just so you know. It's actually like I read it just looking for an unserious time, but like it was actually good. Like the plot like had me. I was like really invested, and I read it in like 12 hours, like a 12-hour period. I liked the two main characters. I liked the world. It was very interesting. The ending was kind of crazy. It's about vampires. If you want a vampire fantasy book with like a lot of smut, to be honest, this is a good one. I think there's vampires that are like slowly taking over all the kingdoms in this world, and so the vampire king comes to this last kingdom's doorstep to have them surrender. Basically, the vampire king, everybody's like, oh my god, the vampire king, and his terms for like working together with this kingdom instead of overthrowing it and like killing all of them is that he wants to marry the king's daughter. So she's our main girl. She gets in this arranged marriage with this vampire king, and things just happen, I guess. It was really good. I really liked it. So I just want you guys to know that every time I'm filming these videos in this corner, I'm sitting crisscross and my leg always goes numb, and I have to take a break and edit out the part where I'm like sitting waiting for my leg to get unnumb. Next, we're getting into the books that I read during my readathon video. So if you want to see my 24-hour readathon, I will put it somewhere. Yeah, it was a fun time. I read 4 books, finished 3, and I did a lot of, I'm not going to say too much about these books because I did like fully review them in the 24-hour readathon video. So if you want to hear more about these books, go watch that video. Sorry to be that guy, but go watch the video. The first book was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Oh my god, I have it. I really liked this book. I honestly kind of regret starting this series just because I don't really rock with Sarah J. Maas as a person, and I kind of overlooked that and decided to start the series anyway. I just kind of regret getting myself into this mess. I read The Assassin's Blade first, and then I read Throne of Glass. So far, they're just like, yeah, that was a really good book. And then I don't think about them, like they don't come to mind often, and they're not like the best I've ever read, and they're definitely just like, I'd say they're a little bit better than just good, but they're just like, yeah, I enjoyed it, and I look forward to reading Crown of Midnight. But I'm not like, I need more, I'm obsessed. But I know this is an 8-book series, so I probably shouldn't get too ahead of myself. That is Throne of Glass. Then I read Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. This was kind of disappointing. I picked this up from the library because every now and then I get in this mood where I'm like, I need to read a thriller. I need to sit here in this bed and read an entire book, and I want it to be a thriller, and I want to just go for it. I've been running out of thrillers that I want to read. Like I couldn't find any, and then I looked up Taylor Adams because I read his other 2 books and I was obsessed with them. This one came up and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was really excited to read this, but it was definitely a lot, not different than his other books, but it just wasn't as good. I really enjoyed No Exit and The Last Word, but this was really just a mid book for me, whereas the other 2 are like some of the best thrillers I've read. More about that in the 24-hour readathon video. Then we have A Study in Drowning. Honestly, if I'm being for real, I finished this book February 11th. Don't remember a single thing about it. I don't think I've thought of it once. I really don't know. So that's something to think about. I really enjoyed the first chunk of it. I remember that because I had just watched someone review it and they were like, yeah, it was disappointing. I didn't really love it. And so when I first started, I was like, she was so wrong. This book is so good. And then I was disappointed by it. So whoever they were right. I just felt kind of let down by this book because it promised so much and then it just didn't really deliver. Those are all the books that I read during my readathon. So after my readathon, I think the readathon is really what like burned me out. And like I don't regret doing it because I really liked that video and I had a really good time making it. And I liked most of the books I read, but I think it really burned me out. So I only read 2 more books after that. The next book that I read was The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is a 4-book series. It's like a like mystery thriller. I wouldn't say it's a thriller, but people call it that. I read this book in 1 sitting and it's 308 pages. I really loved it. I really like it and I'm so excited to read the rest of the series. They're on my TBR for March. If you want to see my TBR, I just posted that video. I really liked this series. It was very different than what I was expecting, I guess. I don't really know. It's basically like this team of kids that work for the FBI because they all have these like superhuman abilities to detect certain things. So one of them can tell when people are lying. One of them just observes so much that she can like make assumptions about people and understand people just by watching them. Stuff like that. So they're useful in homicide cases. So they train them. It was very interesting. I really liked the actual like mystery that we were dealing with. I don't want to say anything about that because I don't want to spoil it, but I'm really glad I picked this up, and I'm excited to read the rest because they're all like fast-paced, really engaging, super quick reads. So yeah, I really like Jennifer Lynn Barnes for that. Like her books are so bingeable. Then we have, this is quite a different book than like what I normally read because it's a dystopian horror book, and that's Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. This is a book by a trans author. I remember taking a picture of this book in the bookstore like 2 years ago. In February, I saw someone review it and I was like, oh my god, that's the book I wanted to read. And then I looked on my library and it was available, so I got it. This book is kind of hard to explain because it's got so many like genres at play here, but it's basically the world was overthrown by like an evangelical church cult type thing, and they poisoned the entire population with this thing called the flood, which was just like disgusting water, made everybody drown, and everybody who didn't drown and they consumed the water, they turned into these like disgusting monsters. That was basically them being like, the apocalypse is coming, we have to return to heaven, oh my gosh, blah blah blah. So we follow this trans boy named what was his name, Benji, and his mother is like a high up in the church. His dad just got shot right in front of his face, and he got injected with this special like version of the flood that's basically going to turn him into this like biblically accurate angel demon creature, and that is going to save the world and bring them back into God's favor. I don't know, it didn't make, I didn't get it, but anyway, so Benji's slowly turning into a monster. His dad just got shot right in front of his eyes, and he tried to escape the church, and he runs into this boy, and this boy is like, what's going on? And the boy takes him and hides him from the angels. They call them all angels, all the people that are like, so he hides him from the angels and takes him to this LGBT youth center, which apparently all of the queer kids of the world were just hiding out in this abandoned youth center since the apocalypse started. So he hangs out with them. They fight angels while Benji slowly turns into a monster. There's a lot of body horror. He's like throwing up his guts and stuff. It's very gross. It was very interesting. There's a lot of representation, obviously, in this book. There's a lot of trans characters, queer characters of every kind, autistic representation. There's a lot going on in this book, and I really enjoyed it. So it's really nice to read a queer book after not reading one for a while. So I really recommend this book. I really enjoyed it. It left less of a mark on me than I thought it would when I had just finished it, but I did really enjoy this. It was kind of paced weirdly, like I felt like it was a little bit too slow, but I really enjoyed it, and I liked the representation, and I really loved the characters a lot. So good read, but it did take me like 2 weeks to finish because of this reading slump, so that could probably have had an effect on how much I enjoyed it. Those are all the books that I read in February. Very slow reading month. I promise next month will be more interesting. Hopefully. Hopefully, if you like this video, subscribe maybe. Maybe you should. Maybe you should subscribe. I don't know. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being a friend. And I will see you next time. I'm very excited about March because it's going to be like my first full month of doing content stuff, and I'm really excited. So if you want to stick around, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Okay, bye.